Hello. It's a little funny to me hearing you talk about internet friends because I remember one of the earlier Naked Truths. Uh, you mentioned that you said you didn't think of them as your fans, but as internet friends. And at the time, it seemed a little odd to me. I thought maybe it was just your way of being nice to your fans. At that point, I hadn't been making any of these videos. But even after I started, and I guess I had a little bit of interaction with you, still think it would have seemed a little weird. Probably, I guess, the time it started to turn me where I could actually kind of see why you'd say that would probably be around when I met you at Comic Con last year. I don't know if you remember it, but I remember, you know, you recognized me, which kind of shocked me. I mean, I knew you would watch the videos, you made comments on stuff in the video, so you would actually been watching them, but maybe I guess I thought maybe you just put them on in the background more listening to them than watching them. I don't know. It kind of felt weird. It surprised me that, you saw me, you recognized me, you knew my name. And at that point, it's kind of like, okay, your average celebrity doesn't know your average fan's name. So I guess that's when it started to turn. Around that time, I got back onto Twitter, which I had been off for a while. And become one of the main people I follow. So I guess I'm more aware of the stuff you do. Also, if I comment on a tweet you make, sometimes you respond, and that kind of, I guess, gets your fans closer. For me, a big thing was when you were working at Escapist and you started the Thursday gaming streams. You know, I know you were doing Twitch streams for a while, but they were usually Sundays, which I work, so I didn't get to see. But these were Thursdays, which I was off, so I got to see most of them. And now, Escapist, it's on Twitch. But watching that, and I know you can watch replays of them, but there's something about watching them live where it just feels a little more interactive, and it does feel like watching a friend play a video game. And I think it's something. I guess to credit to you, you've done a very good job at making the fans feel like friends. Uh, I also realize at the end of the day, I am a fan of yours, and I guess when you use the term internet friend, okay, I always feel like you have to put a qualifier in front of friend. I guess, like you said, there are different levels of friends, but it's not like a real friend. It's like Facebook friend who I'm friends with because they have my grandmother's maiden name, so I think they're family. But I wouldn't recognize if I ran into them. I guess I look at a friend more as someone who you would hang out with, whether it's lunch or get together. If you had a party, you'd invite them over. Um, and I think as a fan, you want to realize that distinction. If you see someone you're a fan of in a public place, you might stop and say something to the effect of, "Hi, I'm a big fan of your work," but personally, I wouldn't want to go much further than to bother the person. It also depends on where and when it is. I wouldn't disturb someone while they're eating dinner or something like that. Um, but is but I do feel it isn't the traditional. I guess the relationship with your fans isn't the traditional fan relationship. It does almost feel like there should be another word. It's feels closer than a fan, not quite a friend. I don't know. Acquaintance doesn't sound right. It sounds both too cold and too close at the same time. I don't know. Maybe we need to like mesh some word like fanned or friend or something. I don't know. Uh, yeah. So as for a celebrity that I would like to be friends with, so I'll skip the obvious and not say you, although I will mention there are a lot of qualities about you that actually part of the reason I was able to actually start making these videos that other than going beyond some similar interests like games and stuff, just your personality seems like someone that in a different situation you seem like someone I could be friends with, and there aren't a lot of people I would say that about because I'm not very good at warming up to people if it hasn't become obvious. But so I saw the celebrity that's going through my head today. First one that popped into my head was, as a baseball fan, Derek Jeter. I mentioned a couple weeks ago how, as a kid, I always wanted to be a baseball player, and you know, he kind of had the career that as a kid I kind of hoped I would have. Someone around my age. I have a lot of respect for him. He seems to, hold himself, a lot of dignity. But the more I thought about it, he's very reserved. So I realized I don't really know much about him, and I respect the fact that he keeps his private life private. But to say I'd want to be friends with him when I don't know much about him, kind of, you know, he'd be hard to pick. I have trouble imagining him, you know, playing video games, playing South Park Stick of Truth. So it's hard for me to pick him. Although if he ever does start a Twitch channel and he does play South Park, he moves up to the top of the list. Thinking about actors, if you had asked me who my favorite actor was, I probably would have always said Harrison Ford. But it's not so much Harrison Ford as it is Han Solo and Indiana Jones, which between those two characters are 7 of my favorite movies of all time. As I said 7, I am leaving out Crystal Skull. Uh, but he kind of scares me. um, when you see him in interviews, he's funny, but in this grumpy kind of way. And my take on him, and I could be totally wrong, is he is someone who likes acting, but doesn't like the stuff associated with it. And he's realized that it's part of it, but I get the feeling he doesn't enjoy it. And with Star Wars, is more of that other stuff than really anything else. And so I get the feeling he's never really embraced Star Wars. So sticking with the Star Wars theme, someone who would be at the top of that list, I guess, is Mark Hamill. Because as cool as Han Solo was, as a kid growing up watching Star Wars, I wanted to be a Jedi Knight. I wanted to save Han Solo from Jabba the Hutt. I wanted to blow up the Death Star before blowing up the Death Star was cool. Uh, and he's someone who seems to embrace Star Wars and the whole geek culture. I can't, watch an animated version of Batman where someone else voices the Joker. It just doesn't seem right. He's done other. I know there's been a bunch of other geek stuff he's done. He's been the Trickster and two Flash series, and I have it on pretty good authority that he's going to have a show on Comic Con HQ. And he seems like he has a good sense of humor, so he's really at the top of my list. It's really hard for me to not pick him. But it's almost so much more of a fanboy geek out than a friend thing. And when you actually say friend, getting back to more of the social media type thing, the one other person who maybe I would possibly switch out, who I could almost see myself being friends with, who I'm a fan of, would be Chris Hardwick. I don't listen to his podcast as much as I would like, but watching him in various different things. I got to see him perform last week. And just listening to him talk, obviously he's funny being a comedian. He's into a lot of the geeky, nerdy stuff that I enjoy. Um, a lot of the similar things that I've enjoyed about you. But, well, one of the things I've always liked about you, I kind of felt you have this, I don't know, carefree spirit that I wish I had. With him, I see more of the similarity with me, where like he's talked about anxiety issues he's had, so I feel like I can relate to him on that level. So listening to him talk about how he's overcome it, uh, I guess makes me feel that something I have in common with, and someone in my age range. So as opposed to someone I'm a huge fan of, someone else I'm a huge fan of who's also a fan, like Luke Skywalker, Mark Hamill, growing up as a fanboy of. Why I'm a fan of Chris Hardwick, I guess I feel maybe a little more similar to him as a growing, the same age range, growing up as a fan of Star Wars and that type of stuff. Um, and also I've listened to him talk about, I guess he had stopped drinking, and probably a little thing for most people, but as someone who goes out, and it's hard to go out with more than one person, and where it doesn't feels like everyone else isn't drinking, and it would be nice to go out and not be the only sober person somewhere. So if I'm friends with him, so I guess he would be a pick of someone I think would kind of be cool to be friends with. And he comes across as a very friendly person too. I saw him perform the other day, but it was almost half his set and half was audience interaction, which was really enjoyable. All right, I guess that's just some of my thoughts on the fan celebrity relationship. All right, thanks for listening. Goodbye.